Soul Bar Yoga and Pilates studio, where she practices mind-body programming in pursuit of supporting healthy lifestyles. And let me tell you, she is probably one of the more inspirational people that I've met. We spoke together briefly at the Mix and Mingle a few months ago, and just from her conversation, I started applying different things in my life, and it changed drastically. So please help me introduce our next speaker.
Lynne Stewart launched her business SOL Pilates and Yoga, now titled SOL Barre Pilates and Yoga, 10 years ago in Markham. Lynne's vision for her studio is to create a safe space for clients to come together in small groups to practice mind-body programming such as Barre, Pilates, and Yoga in pursuit of supporting healthy lifestyles, good posture, and being part of the community. In the past 2 years, Lynne has brought outdoor programming to her clients in the form of stand-up paddleboarding and snowshoeing. Prior to running her own business, however, Lynne completed an MBA and worked for several years within the investment banking field with one of Canada's top 5 banks. Recently, Lynne completed her first CD, Audience of One, under the artist name Janice Lynne.
So, I would love to talk with each and every one of you, and I want to find out what your passions are, what your dreams are, and what inspires you. I don't think we have time for that, but that's what I would love to do, because I feel like just about everything that I started in my life, it all started with what my passion was. And that can be almost the most courageous moment that we find for ourselves, is naming our passion. And from there, we still have a lot of other things that are going to have to come into play. And when I look back on the things that I actually did begin in my life, they began with passion, but the reason that they were successful, or the way that I was able to see them through and stay the course, had to do with other things entirely. And I want to see if I can bring you on this journey. Where I'm at right now in my studio, clients come to me and they want to improve where they're at. They want to feel better. And a lot of the times they show up with tension, with pain, and they're struggling at times to move. And so we work together, and ultimately I'm trying to change their posture. So the thing I'm finding, though, is week after week we do all the right things and they still come back with a very similar posture. So I wonder, what is happening here? Because this is more than just something physical. So what do we think the posture is saying about us? The woman on the right-hand side, she's kind of very lifted up through her rib cage. She's creating a lot of space around her. When I see this posture in my clients, I typically find out over time that they've suffered some kind of hurt in their life, and they've created a bit more space around them. So they've kind of lost the sense that they have resilience and strength, and they're just pushing everything away. The gentleman, he's very open, but there's a sort of an aloofness to him as well. So he's also assuming a posture that has something more to do with his psyche. So our posture really is kind of conveying to the world things that we've gone through, things that we're going through, and things that we think we're going to go through. And so it ends up like this, not only because of the things we've experienced, but also because of the way we are living our lives in front of computers. So I wanted to find out more about why my clients continue to stay committed to their dysfunctional posture. And within the world of academia and social psychology, there is a sub-discipline called embodiment, which basically says that the way we show up physically has a lot to do with our emotions. In the yoga world, we have what's called the energy system, or the chakras. So chakras are showing up in 7 physical locations in our body, and they're just an energy system that spins like a vortex. The goal of the chakra system is that they all kind of spin in balance, because they all represent some element of our emotions, of our personality, and we want to have some equal representation from all of those facets. So I want to take you through the story that the chakras tell us. It's a beautiful story of our emotions. So the root chakra is the base, and that's the very lowest part of the body, anything connected to the earth. And when we are connected to the earth, we are safe, and we feel grounded and calm. And this is happening in our lives with the things that we do to build community, to become part of something. So we want to ultimately find ourselves part of something that's bigger than us, somewhere we belong, where we feel safe and grounded and supported. And so all of that helps to support our root chakra. As we move on, the next chakra is in the belly, and this is the area where we get nourished, right? Water is nourishing us, just like a plant gets watered and nourished. We also need that type of nourishment. And when we get that nourishment, and when a plant gets nourishment, you see it begin to develop roots. And those roots are very unique. They look very different from plant to plant. So we can cultivate a good balance in our water chakra or our sacral chakra by building relationships, one-on-one relationships, places where we're known, where we feel we can be vulnerable and open and reveal exactly who we are. And so this can be happening in our relationships with our spouse, with our friends, maybe with working relationships. It can be people who come to mentor us within the communities or the tribes that we belong in. And then as we move on to the next chakra, we come into the rib cage. And this is influenced by the element of fire. So this is our passion. And this is one of those things we hear over and over again, find your passion. But we don't want to find too much passion at the risk of compromising all of the other things that we need in our lives. And so the fire and the passion that we have is actually helping us to voice what it is that we want to do in our lives. And then when we find ourselves within our tribe or our community, and we begin to develop one-to-one relationships with people, our strengths, our role, all those things that we have to develop, they actually come along a lot faster because of the other things that we brought into our lives. So developing your strengths and developing what you're good at in your roles in isolation from all these other things, it's difficult to do. And we know it because when we go to high school and we have these inventories that try to tell us what we should do with our lives, it's really difficult because we just don't really have great context for understanding yet what we're good at and what's going to kind of manifest in the context of where we end up planting ourselves. The fourth chakra is our heart center. This is where we generate out compassion and love. This is where we embrace the world around us. We share with the world our gifts. And so if we have developed our strengths and a good connection to what it is that we're good at, we do it in the context of, how can I share this with the world? And once we do that, we're operating with a healthy ego and a constructive ego. So as we continue on then, the heart center is also a place where we get energy. And you can just imagine, do you ever start your day and from a soulful psyche level, your cup is full. You feel like you're ready to take on the day. And some days we go through the end and we get to the end of the day and it's like our cup's been drained. But when we are doing the things that we're good at and we're also sharing it with the correct sort of group around us in the population, we get energy back from that. And I know people I've met who seem to give so much away, and they're giving away so much that they're almost feeling a bit defeated and drained by the end of the day. And so we want to consider, how does it feel at the end of the day? Do we have a sense that we are maintaining a good energy and kind of getting filled back up by the things that we're doing? So when we get these first four chakras in balance, by finding our tribe, by making connections with individuals, by developing a sense of what we're good at, and then beginning to share that with an audience or a community or a client base, then we start to move into now our throat chakra. We have a voice. We have a strong voice. And our voice and our words are full of inspiring words, of positive words, and we elicit it, we put out to the world then the faith and the hope that we feel because of all these elements that we've worked on below. From here, we go to our third eye. And so have you ever walked into a room and you kind of look around, you're like, that person's got it all figured out. They're kind of standing there and they're looking with all vision all the way around, which is compared to some of the types of postures we might kind of come into when we're sitting in front of computers. We lose that ability to let our head center on top of our shoulders, and it affects our emotions, it affects our psychology. So the third eye, the center of intuition, is where we can assess the world around us. Kind of assess what's going on, you can see patterns emerging, you begin to develop strategies, you get very creative in your thinking, and you don't have a reactive approach to everything that's going on. So as we recognize then all of these different things that we need to consider in our lives. If you consider the seed of a plant, where you plant that seed is important. And from there, the seed, it kind of sits in the dirt for a little while. It kind of gets to know its surroundings. Then the water comes along and creates this nourishment, and this is when we see this intricate root development happen. And this is just the plant establishing what is going to ground it in the midst of potentially overwhelming forces. The sun comes in and warms it, encourages it to begin to show its strength to the world. And from there, the wind comes, and sometimes it's a beautiful breeze, we all know those days, and sometimes the wind is intense. And how do we deal with those elements in our lives? Things that sometimes feel overwhelming, things that might create a sense of anxiety for us, make us feel a bit ungrounded. So if we consider that we need to establish those roots and that sense of being grounded somewhere, then we might be able to understand why it is we can withstand what's coming at us in life. Because there's some things that we pursue in our lives and we feel, yeah, I can handle this, I can handle anything that's coming my way. But at other times we just feel like the lightest wind is going to blow us over. So just moving on then, the final chakra, the crown chakra, this is the connection to the universe, to the energy of your God, whatever it is that you put your faith into. The crown chakra is a beautiful thing because when we're in good balance through our chakras, and when the crown chakra is open to what's above us as opposed to the energy that's around us, we also begin to be this person who can extend ourselves out to the people around us. And I know for myself, I talked about the things I was passionate about and the things that I really wanted to do in my life. And some of them were very successful. And some of the things, no matter how passionate I was, it was almost like the tribe. I couldn't find my tribe to do it. And until I found my tribe and then ultimately found the people who really extended themselves out to me, that's when my path started to show up. So it's a fantastic thing because I'm giving you responsibility for knowing who you are, for understanding how you're feeling. But I'm also giving that opportunity for success in your life. I'm giving you less responsibility for that because at the end of the day, the things I have found I've been most successful at had to do with the people around me and them kind of ushering me forward towards where it was I was supposed to go. So first of all, you want to figure out where you belong. Where should you be? And I was thinking this week about my talk, and I thought you want to plant yourself where you have a view. So you want to be somewhere where you have your vision open to what it is that you're moving towards. You want to create relationships so that people know you and you know them, and that you can just be exactly who you are. You want to also begin to develop your strengths and your self-esteem. You want to find out who to share this with, and you want to know that you're getting a sense of energy back from the sharing aspect of what you're doing. From there, you'll begin to have a strong voice. Your resonance will be strong. Your encouragement, your faith, everything you bring to the world will be that much better. And from there, you're going to see a lot more. You're not going to have tunnel vision. You're not going to be too focused in on small little things. You'll have the big picture again, which is actually a very calming place to be, is to step away from the small things of your life and begin to look at the patterns and the big picture. And then you'll have a sense of purpose, and you'll have a sense of fulfillment. And so there's moments in our lives where we know we feel quite fulfilled. And if you look and consider all of the things that were factors into that feeling, you may find that there was an important tribe or an important relationship that was creating a framework for you to really go beyond where you could have gone on your own. So the amazing thing too is to recognize that there's timing and sometimes we need patience, and I know the things that I've done in my life, I thought of them today and 10 years later they happened. But 10 years later they happened very easily. It was just a smooth kind of pathway. My runway showed up, the light showed up, I had people to talk to, and I wasn't alone in it, and everything came together in a very easy and enjoyable way. Because sometimes I think we struggle. We struggle a lot, we feel like we're on our own. And at the end of the day, those may be signs that you haven't planted yourself where you need to be, and you need to consider this big risk, which is maybe plant yourself in a different place. So, funny enough though, for me to get a little bit of perspective perspective on what it was that I wanted to do and my passions, I found that most of my job changes and career changes were just wardrobe changes. And so, looking back though, what I ended up finding out was that it was the team of people that came around me in the context of pursuing both my studio, the music that I'm doing, and now this TED Talk. This has been a great process. So just to recap, I want to make sure you understand that your posture and your emotions, they're actually connected together. So can we do a little trial breath pattern here? I want to give you a little strategy for what you could be doing day in and day out. So to stay grounded, to feel rooted, you want to find your tribe, but sometimes your tribe's not there. So we're going to do a little breathing technique. And I just want you to breathe in, we're all doing that, and I want you to exhale a little bit longer. And as you breathe out, I want you to feel your sits bones, your feet, everything connected to the earth. Feel a weightedness, feel a groundedness. So breathe in, and exhale, extend it out. Do it again, breathe in, and exhale, extending out, feel the weight. And breathe in again, and exhale. By about the third time, we tend to get a sense that we've changed our emotions. Anxiety ends up being a wind energy, it's up here. So what we can do to help to dispel the anxiety is breathe in and just say the word stillness. Because remember we talked about the wild winds and we feel overwhelmed? We need to feel still again. We need that nice, beautiful breeze. Just take a moment and breathe in. And quietly breathe out and just say the word stillness in your mind. And breathe it out. Good. So those are ways that as you're moving through your day, maybe you can begin to check in and see, how am I feeling right now? What's happening? Is my cup of energy, is it being filled up? Is it being taken away? Maybe a little bit of a technique that you can carry through your day. And also the fact that the communities you plant yourself in are the biggest risks that you're going to take in your life. From there, everything manifests itself quite easily in time. So we need to have that sense of there's always going to be a timing that's important to things feeling like this is the path we're supposed to be on, this is where I belong, and not so much of a struggle. I don't think it needs to be such a struggle or as much work as we seem to think it is. And then ultimately we find balance, and in the context of balance, we find energy, and we ultimately find good health. Thank you very much.